Good morning, my friends. Jesus cares for the world. Let me start by asking you something. Have you ever felt invisible? Maybe you've thought, does anyone even notice me? Does anyone care? I've been there. I know that feeling, and it's heavy, but I want to tell you something today that will change your perspective. Jesus cares for you. He cares for the world. And he's never stopped. Jesus' love is unconditional and extends to every person, no matter their circumstances. This truth is central to the Christian faith, and it is a message that resonates deeply with those who struggle to understand their worth. In a world where value is often measured by achievements, appearances, or success, it can be easy to feel overlooked or unloved. Yet Jesus sees beyond the surface. His love is not based on what we do or who we are, but simply because we exist. It is a radical, transformative love that is not swayed by the external circumstances or failures we may face. Consider the way Jesus interacted with people throughout his ministry. He didn't walk through the streets of Jerusalem looking for the perfect, the wealthy, or the influential. Instead, he sought out the broken, the marginalized, and the oppressed. He sat with tax collectors, reached out to the sick, and embraced the outcasts. He didn't wait for them to clean themselves up or prove their worth. He loved them first, and through his love, they were healed and transformed. This is the essence of unconditional love that doesn't ask for anything in return, love that doesn't demand perfection, and love that never gives up. Many of us are familiar with the story of the woman caught in adultery. When the crowd brought her before Jesus, they expected him to condemn her, to punish her according to the law. Instead, Jesus, full of mercy, bent down and wrote in the sand, then stood up and said, "Let any one of you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her." One by one, the accusers dropped their stones and walked away. Jesus didn't shame the woman or remind her of her wrongs. He simply told her, "Neither do I condemn you. Go now and leave your life of sin." In that moment, he showed her the fullness of grace, a love that met her in her sin but didn't leave her there. Jesus' unconditional love is not a passive sentiment. It is an active force that seeks to heal and restore. His love is the kind that pursues us even when we feel undeserving. It is the love that leaves the 99 sheep to find the one lost sheep. No matter how far we stray, Jesus is willing to search for us, to call us back to himself, and to offer us the forgiveness and grace that we so desperately need. There are times when we may feel that we've failed too many times, that we've messed up beyond repair. We might convince ourselves that we are unworthy of love, that our past mistakes disqualify us from experiencing true love. But the good news is that Jesus' love is not limited by our past. His love does not depend on our perfection. It depends solely on his character. In Romans 5:8 it says, "But God demonstrates his own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us." Even in our worst moments, when we were farthest from him, Jesus chose to love us. His love is not a response to our goodness, but a constant outpouring of grace. It's easy to understand this love when we are on the receiving end of it, but what about when we are called to extend that same love to others? The challenge of unconditional love is not just about accepting it for ourselves, but about sharing it with those around us. When Jesus tells us to love our neighbors as ourselves, he's asking us to mirror the love he has shown us. This means showing kindness, grace, and compassion even when others don't deserve it. It's about seeing people through the eyes of Jesus, not through the lens of their mistakes or shortcomings, but as individuals worthy of love and dignity. When we understand that Jesus' love is unconditional, it transforms how we view the world. It shifts our focus from a transactional mindset where love is earned or given based on conditions to a transformative mindset where love is freely given regardless of the circumstances. Jesus' love teaches us that true love does not depend on merit, behavior, or worthiness. It flows from the heart of God and reaches all people, no matter where they are. It is this kind of love that changes lives, heals wounds, and brings hope to the helpless. You are called to be the hands and feet. You see, Jesus reflecting his care to a hurting world. This calling is not reserved for a select few or for those in positions of power or influence. It is a calling for everyone, no matter their age, background, or circumstances. As followers of Christ, we are given the unique privilege and responsibility to carry his love into the world. And it's not just about what we say, but about what we do. The world today is filled with pain, uncertainty, and brokenness. People are looking for answers, seeking hope, and longing for a sense of belonging. And it is through our actions, our love, and our service that we can demonstrate the reality of Jesus' care and compassion. Jesus' ministry was one of action, not just words. He didn't just preach about love, he lived it out daily. He healed the sick, gave sight to the blind, fed the hungry, and reached out to the marginalized. He demonstrated that true love requires more than just a good intention or kind words, it requires action. It requires us to step out of our comfort zones and serve those around us, especially those who are suffering or in need. This is the example he set for us, and it is the model we are called to follow. To be the hands and feet of Jesus means that we must be willing to go where others may not want to go. It means stepping into the lives of those who are hurting, even when it's uncomfortable or inconvenient. Jesus didn't avoid the leper because of their condition. He touched them, healing them with his love. He didn't shy away from the sinner or the outcast. He sat and ate with them, showing them that they too were worthy of love and grace. Being the hands and feet of Jesus requires us to be present in the messiness of life, to show up in the hardest moments and extend compassion where others may look away. But it's not just about the big, dramatic acts of service. Being the hands and feet of Jesus can be seen in the small, everyday moments as well. It's in the way we listen to someone who is struggling, offering them a safe space to share their pain. It's in the way we show kindness to a stranger, offering a smile or a word of encouragement. It's in the way we offer a helping hand, whether it's carrying groceries for an elderly neighbor or volunteering at a local food bank. These small acts of love, when done with the heart of Jesus, can have a profound impact on the lives of those around us. Being the hands and feet of Jesus also means serving without expecting anything in return. In a world that often operates on a system of exchange, where we give only when we expect something back, Jesus calls us to a higher standard. He calls us to love unconditionally, to serve without seeking recognition or reward. The beauty of this kind of love is that it reflects the love Jesus has for us, a love that is selfless, sacrificial, and without strings attached. When we serve others in this way, we not only demonstrate the love of Christ, but we also reflect his humility. Jesus, the King of the universe, washed the feet of his disciples. He humbled himself to serve those who would betray him, abandon him, and deny him. If he in all his glory can serve, then how much more should we be willing to serve? This calling to be the hands and feet of Jesus is not always easy. It requires us to step out of our own needs and desires and focus on the needs of others. It requires us to be vulnerable, to be present in the suffering of others, and to offer a love that goes beyond what is comfortable or convenient. It requires sacrifice, but it is through this sacrifice that we find true fulfillment. The more we pour ourselves out in service to others, the more we experience the heart of Jesus and the more we grow in his likeness. We live in a world that is often indifferent to the pain of others. There is so much suffering, so much injustice, so much loneliness. And while we may not be able to solve all the problems of the world, we can make a difference in the lives of those around us. Every small act of kindness, every gesture of love, every moment of service is a reflection of Jesus' care for the world. When we choose to be his hands and feet, we become instruments of his love and vessels of his grace. We become the tangible presence of Jesus to a world that desperately needs it. Even small acts of love and kindness can demonstrate Jesus' care and make a profound impact. It's easy to believe that only grand gestures or monumental actions can change the world, but Jesus shows us through his life that the simplest acts can be the most powerful. He didn't always perform miracles that turned the world upside down in an instant. Often his impact was felt in small personal ways. A touch, a word of encouragement, a meal shared, these were the things that brought healing and hope. Jesus didn't overlook the small everyday moments. In fact, he showed us that these showed us are often where his love shines the brightest. Take, for example, the story of the widow's offering in Mark 12. While others gave large amounts of money, Jesus pointed out the small contribution of a widow who gave only 2 small coins. To the world, it seemed insignificant, but to Jesus, it was a demonstration of faith and sacrifice. This woman's small act was more valuable than all the riches of the wealthy because it came from the heart. It wasn't about the size of the gift, it was about the love and intention behind it. In the same way, even the smallest acts of love and kindness, when done with the right heart, can carry great significance. A smile to someone who is lonely, a prayer for a friend who is struggling, or offering your time to help someone in need, these are not small to Jesus. They are powerful demonstrations of his care for the world. Thanks for watching.